Hi, welcome to the Gastroenteritis Blues. My name is Steve Lippman, joined as always by Emily Cannell, Dan Volpone, and a very special guest. I believe his third time on the podcast, fan favorite and one of our good friends, deputy editor at Billboard, and he writes Ricky Sanchez not only about the Sixers but also about the Phillies. Andrew Unterberger. AU, thank you for being here. And first, let me just get your temperature check to get this out of the way on the Phillies, who are tied right now 1-1 with the Braves. Didn't score any runs in game 2. How do you feel as the series goes back to Philadelphia? And like I said, welcome to the pod.
Oh, first off, of course, thanks for having me again. It's always a pleasure to be on with y'all. And I'm impressed that you still have my title. Do you still have that written down from last time? I don't even know if that's on the internet anywhere. So
it's on the internet because I
okay.
took it right out. I plagiarized it from your Twitter bio.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, there we go. But Phillies, yeah, no. Well, first off, I think I'm basically forbidden from writing about them again now that the Sixers are back. I think the Spike kind of tolerated it as long as there was just nothing going on in the off season. But
it was great though. I loved it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad that someone was reading them. I wasn't totally sure there. But temperature check, I mean, do I think they're going to win this series? Probably not. Baseball is weird and the playoffs are pretty random. So I hesitate to make any sort of authoritative prediction in either direction. They've already I'm good with the Phillies at this point. They could lose the next 2 games and I'm totally happy. I thought they would get demolished by St. Louis. I'm still not quite sure how they won that series. I think some sort of weird karmic balance in the universe was shifted by that bizarre 9th inning. I don't know. The Cardinals just kind of deserved it, I think is what happened there for 2011. Probably a lot of other stuff since. Going into the playoffs, I said win or lose, I just hope that Nola, Wheeler, and Harper don't embarrass themselves. And I think that they're out of that territory at this point. They obviously, Wheeler didn't have the greatest 6th inning last night, but he was still pretty dominant up until that point. I think most people agree that he would have gotten out of that inning if Reese had made that play at first. And he was brilliant the start before that. Nola was brilliant his first start, and obviously in that last game against the Astros, he was probably the best he's ever pitched. And Harper, even Bryce is kind of getting off the schneid. He had a homer. He had a couple extra base hit games. I'm very happy with how the team has played. It's something to build on, I guess. But I don't even really care about that. I cared about them making the playoffs. I cared about them not having an embarrassing collapse for the 8th straight season in September. And I cared about their big guys showing up. So far they have. And so I'm cool as a cucumber here. I'm good to go.
Yeah, just quickly, I know we have a lot of stuff to get to this episode. Emily and Dan, where are you at? Where are you feeling things leaning with the Phillies right now? On one hand, I do think Atlanta is the better team. On the other hand, I kind of refuse to let them lose this series. Reese hasn't gotten a hit. Kyle Schwarber hasn't gotten a hit. JT hasn't hit the ball well. These things are sometimes
because they're batting 1, 2, and 3. So it's
can I interject real quick here?
Please.
I'm sorry. I know I've already said my piece here. The thing about this team that does drive me insane and will drive me insane until their last at bat in this playoffs is Schwarber batting first, which has not made sense since May, maybe even before that, maybe never. I sort of understand that you kind of don't want to mess with what's working, but it also really wasn't working for most of the season. And there's no logical explanation for it. He's not a high on base guy. He doesn't really work at bats that well at this point. He doesn't even he's hitting for power sometimes, but not all the time. When he's not hitting for much else. And when he is, he's hitting solo homers, which is not what you want from your power guys. So right. That Mets series where Schwarber was out and Stott was hitting leadoff, it was okay, that's the answer to this question. Have Stott hit leadoff. He was great in that series. He seems like a sort of prototypical leadoff guy. I obviously we're sort of a lost cause for this season. I pray that this doesn't bleed into next year, and it can, right? That doesn't make sense to anybody, I don't think.
No, I mean Topper even said today that he's sticking with Schwarber and Reese at the top of the lineup. Now, part of me is thinking he just wants to stick with his guys and not tell his guys you're struggling and I need to bump you down to 6th and 7th or whatever. And I guess part of me is thinking he doesn't want to take these guys who are struggling and bumped, like knock off whatever's even left of their confidence. And it's like, okay, I guess I'll take that. But also part of being a manager right now is within series adjustments, which might mean putting Gene and Stott in the 1 and 2 in whatever order you like. So I obviously I would rather have those two guys not up there, but who knows, maybe he has the secret sauce and this is like the boat of confidence they need to get it going in Philly. I don't know. But I certainly hope they get off the schneid, or I just hope that the others are enough to carry them through in Philly with people going insane. And so yeah, Dan and Emily, how are you feeling right now with the series heading back to Philadelphia?
I mean, I'm just excited that, they're getting to play a home playoff game. I definitely, that was not something I was taking for granted coming into the postseason, even once they made it, because they're going to have to win that Cardinals series. They were not favored. But yeah, I mean, the tickets are too expensive for me. I would have liked to go if they were cheaper, but it is what it is. I'm still excited for it. I'm excited for the game tomorrow. I think AU is like kind of right on with how I'm feeling, in that like it's not really the end of the world if they don't win, because this is the furthest they've made in a really long time, and there's something to that. I would like to see, I've always been a Reese guy, not that I've been like following the Phils closely for the last 6 years because they've been horrible, but I've been when I take the time to watch the games, I do like Reese. He's really struggled. I would like to see him get it together a little bit. But the starting pitching has been really good for the most part. I think as good as you could ask. And it hurts to not have Robertson right now, and that probably scares me more than anything at this point. Very Sixers injury from him, but
how old is this guy? Jesus Christ, he's jumping. He jumped once, and he was like, "I gotta take a few days off." I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I'm excited. I mean, basically, I'm sure the Braves won the World Series last year, and we're on fire this year, and they're I'm sure they're the better team, but anything can happen. It's a best of 3 at this point, right? With the rest, and the Phils have 2 home games. So, Citizens Bank Park is going to be electric, and I'm excited. Like, who knows? You never know at this point. You never know. Anything can happen.
Do we know for a fact the Citizens Bank Park is going to be electric? Because
I think
it really hasn't been so far this season. Yeah, but I've seen the ticket prices for so far this season versus today, and I figure if you're paying all that to go, you better bring some energy.
Make one of these a $1 dog night. I mean, I don't care how we get there.
I would love that.
Just make it a $1 dog night. Get these psychos in there. I don't care.
The cheapest ticket for Friday's game is like $240. Like, come on.
What?
I'm not. What am I made of money? I can't go to that game.
Yeah. You could get into Atlanta for like $8 though.
Like, I'll walk down South Street and pick any bar on any corner, and I'll have a great time. I don't have to pay $240 to go to that game.
I think it was cheaper to fly to Atlanta and go to a game there than it is to go to a game in Citizens Bank Park. Not even kidding.
It was like fairly low energy those first couple of games, I will say, in Atlanta.
All right, before we get to the Sixers, Emily, where are you at?
I'm excited. I think at the very least, I think it goes 5, because I think that we've got to take at least one of these at home. Mm-hmm. I don't think they're going to win both of them. I wouldn't be surprised if we lose the series, but I think I think we've got to win one of these games at home. I'd probably think it'd be this next one, because Nola's kind of been on fire. I really hope that Reese gets it going. I think he's made good contact. He had that hard line drive to third base in game 1. He had a couple deep balls that he just hit right at people in game 2. I just think it's a minor tweaks. I think he's close, so hopefully he can get it going in game 3. My guy Sir Anthony Dominguez is on his shit. I am obsessed with him, and he's just an animal out there, and I love him to death. So he keeps doing that. I mean, pitching wise, we're looking pretty good for game 3, right?
Yeah.
So hope we can
have to see what happens
pull out a win there and see what happens.
Yeah. All right. Well, AU, we've enlisted you to help us preview the Sixers season, which begins on Tuesday. The news of the day, recording this on Tuesday. We're now recording and releasing on Thursdays. Welcome to Gastro on Thursdays. The news of the day, is that the Sixers, well, the other day, the Sixers cut Trevelyan Queen. Goodbye. The Queen died this year, and then the Sixers cut Trevelyan Queen. And then they cut Charles Bassey, who was thumbs up, thumbs down guy in terms of challenges. They cut Isaiah Joe. People had a meltdown. Absolutely. Everybody loves Isaiah Joe or the idea of Isaiah Joe, whichever one. It's just as good to me. They cut him and everybody's mad. Sure, I don't go ahead and get mad. I'm down, whatever you want to do. Also, recently they signed Mac McClung, who I think is famous on Instagram. I don't know anything else about him, but he's white and dunks. That's all I got. If you guys have anything else, chime in. And Patrick McCaw, who has a lot of championship rings. And they're going to play in the Delaware on the Blue Coats. They're not going to play for the team. So that's it. The only thing really to talk about would be, I guess, Bassey and Isaiah Joe. I didn't see a real path to minutes for Bassey, especially after they signed Harrell, and I know that they like people all at least somewhat. You know, I guess we'll see. That's a famous last words sort of thing. But Isaiah Joe, I would have, so they're going to carry 14 rostered guys into the year, and now they're like 5 million under the apron. I glaze over when people talk about the apron. I'm out if they want to talk about that. But, I sort of would have rather just kept Isaiah Joe on the roster in case people get injured and he is at least an outline of somebody who could help. I'm also just not really worked up about Isaiah Joe because he didn't hit enough threes for me to feel like he's definitely good. And, whenever he played in summer league or preseason, though, he certainly looked like he could play. So, I don't begrudge anyone who's upset about it because it seems like a fun thing to get upset about. So I say go with God if you're upset about it too. So I've got no problem with that either. Emily, any thoughts on Charles Bassey and Isaiah Joe departing? Kyle Neubeck did say that they want Isaiah Joe back on a two-way. I would doubt that. Charles Bassey, I think, probably wants to get the fuck as far away from Philadelphia as possible. I think that he sort of came here kicking and screaming after they took him with like the 54th pick. I think he didn't want to come here at all. And then they got him here and he barely played. So I think
Didn't it take him like 8 years to sign?
It took him forever. It took him longer to get here than Brett Brown. So yeah, no, he's not going to, he'll never be back here again. So what do you think about Bassey and Isaiah Joe leaving town?
I don't really care either way. I'm sad I can't use Isaiah Joe in the most likely game anymore because he's like a surefire winner for me every time.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't think either of them were going to get a ton of minutes or play any meaningful time. And I'm fine having a roster spot and like some wiggle room on the roster. We're just so much deeper than that would have Isaiah Joe getting cut last year would have been like unfathomable because there was like 6 people on the team that could play minutes and you just like rotate them around. But the team is so much deeper this year that it doesn't really faze me.
AU, I believe that you are at least somewhat of an Isaiah Joe guy, or at least were. Talk to me about how you're feeling today. Has it been a long day for you? We're recording this a bit late. Did you take a nap? How do you feel?
No, I mean, look, I am an Isaiah Joe guy, and I think it's fair to say that if this is like the thing we're the most upset about this offseason, then I think it's been a pretty successful offseason. So I'm not going to get like too fire and brimstone about it. But the thing that always sort of tweaks me about Daryl Morey, who we can all agree is probably one of the best GMs in the league and certainly one of the best the Sixers have had, the thing that really separates him from Sam Hinkie in my mind, and not in such a good way, I don't think, is that he has a weirdly like don't sweat the small stuff attitude a lot of the time. Like I remember he was on the rest of Ricky Sanchez when they were getting ready to sign DeAndre Jordan.
Yes.
And he was sort of laughing at Spike for like caring about that spot. And it's like, oh, well, it's not really going to matter. It's like, well, it might matter a little bit if Joel Embiid gets hurt and you have to play your first 2 games in Miami and you're starting DeAndre Jordan, playing him 20 minutes a night, it might matter a little bit. And again, Isaiah Joe, not the end of the world. Charles Bassey, certainly not the end of the world. But they're 2 guys who would probably have had value to some team, if not to the Sixers. It kind of sucks to lose them for absolutely nothing. And I still do hold out hope that Isaiah Joe will be a real pro. I do have to kind of give him the Mickey Moniak treatment, which is to say that like he had his chances. He really did have his chances, and he failed to take advantage of any of them. The last couple seasons, every time he got sort of the opportunity for spot minutes, he did not capitalize on those minutes. And you don't get eternal opportunities as a second rounder or undrafted pick. So fair enough. I'm not going to like read Daryl the riot act for it, but I do wish he cared a little bit more about some of these sort of marginal moves and guys that he ends up just losing for nothing. Like Zaire Smith when traded him to the Pistons for, I don't even remember what, but
Tony Bradley. Yeah.
Oh, is that what it was? Jeez.
He at least did get a player.
All right. That's a player at least, but yeah, a lot of moves like these that are like real down ballot sort of moves in the first place. But I wish maybe a little more care was put into them.
Yeah, and I think that Emily's point is a good one. That it would have been nice to see Joe get a bit more of a look, and this is more of a Doc thing that he didn't get a bit of a longer leash, especially when Matisse was sort of hapless last year, and you just give some of those minutes to Joe, who has shown some defensive promise and can take shots and be in the right place offensively, but would have been nice to do something with him. But yeah, to just waive him is a bit of a bummer here. Dan, where are you at on these two moves?
Yeah, I mean, Charles Bassey is like a pretty bad NBA player, so that's fine. Like, whatever. I was a little surprised and disappointed to see Joe let go. I mean, for one, he's just very handsome. And I think, more importantly, I saw it with him. I didn't think he was ready, but like there were times it felt like he was close to being ready. But to be fair, like he did never show that he was really ready to contribute, meaningfully when you get down to, a playoff game and like being an important piece there. And my reaction is kind of to defer to Daryl here, because I think that this is I do agree with AU that I wish there were more care taken in end of roster moves, and I think we saw some great players that Hinkie was able to get from these end of roster, basically tryouts. But I think that the reality is more than saying something about Isaiah Joe, this is a cat move. And while I mean, like, I understand, I could explain to you, what the apron is and where the Sixers are in relation to it and why it matters, but I can't tell you why it matters in terms of getting an extra 1.8 million below it and what that opens up for them. I'm sure Daryl has his eyes on certain players as it comes down to going to the trade deadline and who he thinks he has a chance at. And maybe he thinks that for some of these guys, that 1.8 million makes a difference. And for that reason, I'm going to defer to him there, because I haven't like taken the look to see like who can they get, who can they not get if they keep Joe versus they don't keep Joe, and who else do they have to give. I mean, obviously the other argument is that maybe Joe can become an outgoing salary in a trade, maybe he has some value somewhere else. And I get that side of it, but I think at that point you're getting a little complicated for even like for my own tax understanding, which is certainly not, among the most elite of our tax experts at Liberty Ballers. I have a pretty basic understanding here. So I like to say that I think this is part of a larger plan and not just Isaiah Joe stinks thing, because I think Isaiah Joe does not stink, and I think ideally you could have gotten a second form or something, and maybe you could have, and maybe that's a criticism of Daryl. As you know, I'm not afraid to say bad things about Daryl, but in this case, I don't know. I'm hoping that there's just something deeper here in terms of cap reasons to cut him, because as a player, I did like Isaiah Joe.
Now, before we get into predictions, is there anything from the Sixers preseason? They went undefeated in preseason, 4-0. So I can't imagine anybody has any complaints. But is there anything that you guys have that stood out to you from the Sixers preseason? The overarching things, just bullet point wise, might be the way they deployed the backup centers, Harrell and Bivol Paul, how Harden looked, which AU, I know you wrote some about, how Maxey looked, which is just remarkable. Joel, who just stayed healthy, I think that mostly he just looked like he was trying to get some cardio in and stay healthy, which I think is, I was talking to a friend of mine today, and I think is basically how he looks every preseason. Like, I don't think he shows new things in his game in either of his MVP campaigns. It's not like in either preseason it's been like, holy shit, look at Joel. It's like, no, I think that every preseason he's like, just, I don't want to get hurt, and I'm just here to like run up and down the court a few times. I don't think he ever shows us anything in preseason, which I am more than pleased with. I just, want to, put him in sort of a phone booth and make sure he's all right. And then, sort of any thoughts on role players. So AU, I'll go to you first. So, your thoughts on the backcourt and sort of how it worked out with the backup centers and anything else that stood out to you from the preseason.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're seeing from Maxey is real. I don't, obviously he's going to play probably a little bit better than he played the last 2 games, probably not as good as he played the first 2 games, probably for the course of the season. But I think that the main thing, and the only thing that we probably really care about seeing from Tyrese, is that the shot is still there and that he's still willing to take it. And he was pulling up like just these quick trigger shots that I thought we were going to have to wait 4 or 5 years for him to even attempt, let alone actually make. And the fact that he's making them and taking them pretty consistently this early in his career is unbelievably encouraging. He plays really well off Harden. They're finding him open in the corner. Like it seems like it's going to be a really enormous year for him. Harden, the thing you referenced that I wrote about with him, I think we were all hoping to see a slightly, I don't know, poppier James Harden. I think we were all hoping that like he was going to kind of make some plays and we're going to go, whoa, like, well, we definitely wouldn't have seen that from him last year. And that flat out just did not happen this preseason, at least athletically. Like he looks very much like the same guy he was at the end of last year. There was one, sequence in the Cavs game where like 2 straight drives, it got stoned by Dean Wade, who was, not Evan Mobley out there. Like that's the sort of guy that 5 years ago Harden would have just zipped by, or at least sort of overpowered his way, use a combination of speed and size to get past. That's just not happening anymore. And he still had some good drives, and he played pretty well. I don't mean to diminish what he's going to bring to the team this year, because I think it's going to be considerable. But it's just, the Harden that we were hoping was going to just kind of magically reappear after that glorious three months worth of rest, which is just going to be like the fountain of youth for him. That's not happening. We probably shouldn't have expected it to happen in the first place. The one really interesting thing with Harden, I think, didn't appear until the last game. I don't even know how much people have talked about this. I didn't really read a lot of like post games from last night's game. And I imagine not that many people were watching in the first place with the Phillies going on at the same time. But he took so many fucking mid-range shots in that game. He was pulling up off the dribble. He was kind of doing these stop hesitations where he would kind of pull back from and shoot a fadeaway. Like, I think I tweeted this. I think I saw more mid-range from him in that game last night than I had from him the entire time he was here last season. It's just, I think he was he considered him anathema to his game for probably most of his career since he sort of reinvented himself in Houston the first time. There was sort of the very, very, very strict, diet of rim, free throws, and 3-pointers, and like nothing in between, almost on principle. And I think it's definitely a conclusion I came to last year. And it seems like he and maybe the team has kind of come to the same conclusion, which is that if he's going to continue to play as effectively as he ages, he's got to get that sort of Chris Paul kind of sweet spot in the middle where, he can kind of pull up for that sort of off balance 15-footer and hit it pretty regularly, especially because that's what they're going to be giving him. They don't want to let him get to the rim. They don't want to give him too much space from 3. And so he's going to get to that sort of gray area spot, and he's just going to have to pull up. And the fact that he was doing it, I thought was super, super encouraging. He's not making it at a particularly high rate yet. And I don't think he will to start the season because it is so antithetical to what he's been doing for the last decade at this point. So it's going to take some time, and I hope that he's committed enough to it to stick with it, because I could also see him being like, this isn't working. I'm just going to go back to the shit that I've been doing all my life. But I think that if he's going to have that sort of Chris Paul kind of third wave to his career, that's the part of the game that he's got to really get comfortable in. And the fact that he's willing to try it is really encouraging. And so even though I don't take a lot of like athletic bounce back sort of, I don't see that in his game. I don't see that coming this season. I do think he's willing to at least explore and try some new things to kind of counteract the fact that he's not the guy he used to be physically. And that's good news. And the only other thing that I think is worth mentioning, and we sort of alluded to it already, is just that like the bench is for real. And like when you go 4-0 in the preseason, you don't go 4-0 in the preseason because your stars are just wiping the floor with everybody. You go 4-0 in the preseason because your second and third line guys are like better than other teams' second and third line guys. And I think we sort of demonstrated that. Obviously, Harrell is going to just feast on backups, and being able to keep one of Tyrese and James out there the entire time is going to be huge. And I think that's the recipe for like a really, really dominant regular season team. I think we all sort of agree that that's probably going to be the Sixers this year in a way that we haven't seen, except for maybe the first post-pandemic year, but definitely like in a way that was not something we could rely on last year. It was not something we could rely on in most of the Ben years, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
I love it. Dan, any other preseason takes or takeaways from you?
No, nothing big besides, what AU brought up. I think that, Maxey continuing to look good with his shot was huge. And Harden taking the mid-range was like very evident. They're not really going in, but I agree. I like that he's taking them. I think one place I'll disagree is I think his burst looks a little better. It doesn't look like prime Harden. It looks closer to last year's Harden.
Squint so hard and you're like,
it looks a little bit
the same
better.
thing. Yeah.
He looks a little better.
Give me a percentage on that. How would you qualify that?
100%
percentage wise.
He looks 10% burstier to me.
Okay. I can buy that. There's like a 10% margin of error there, so I can buy that.
He looks a little better. I think he has still, even in the preseason, gone through stretches in these games where he looks bad. And I'm hoping that as we go through the season, that kind of goes away. But I feel like there's stretches where like he will just throw the ball away a couple times in a row, which can be frustrating. And I hope that something happens there. I'm not really expecting it to, though. I think he might just be kind of like that at this point. Yeah, but besides that, like you mentioned, I mean, I actually really liked playing Harrell and Reed together. I feel like it really addresses the worries you have with Harrell as your primary backup center, which is that like not really a rim protector, not really that tall, could hurt on the glass. You don't really get that when you put him out there with the ball, Paul. So I like that a lot, actually, and I think that Doc has experimented a little bit this preseason in ways he hasn't really before, which is kind of encouraging. I mean, that's basically a 2-center lineup, although I think that both of them can kind of switch onto less athletic fours, and that's good. But and I guess last thing I'll say is I'm excited about PJ Tucker. I think he is going to be a really helpful player, and he just his presence out there is. I think it's helpful on defense. It's helpful, rebounding at the three, and just to have a guy who is really as lights out from the corner. And you see it with him and with House and like with all the jokes made, like they really do. Harden looks comfortable with them. Harden looks like he knows where to get him the ball. They know where they have to be for him to be comfortable getting them the ball. Obviously it's just the preseason, but I was pretty encouraged by that. House's shot wasn't falling, but Tucker, I mean, will always be very good from the corner. So, yeah, I mean, 4-0, you can't complain, right? Good preseason.
Emily?
Yeah, I agree with everything. The only other thing I'd say was, maybe not a good offensive game, but it seems like Matisse has developed something of an offense, something in the corner. He will take them now. They go in not all the time. He had like a kind of good game. He went 3 for 5, but if he can make them at like a middling clip where people have to like kind of defend it, it gives him something on offense that he didn't have last year, which makes him like a bit more valuable and a bit less of a liability on the court. So.
I said this in the Liberty Ballers Slack, which I am occasionally chatty in, and I'm not a shot doctor by any means. I know Matisse put a lot of work into his shot, and minimal
and his dribbling.
There's a couple of
videos of him bumbling around with the ball.
Yeah, but if you say he looks bad, you're a bad guy. So you have to watch yourself.
Guy wants to play some basketball.
He does.
Right.
But there's so even now, like, and I'm not saying Matisse's form doesn't look better or his elbow doesn't look better or anything. And I said this, and specifically, I like to hear what Dave Early has to say about guys' shots. I think he does a really good job of kind of taking a look at what the form should be, what someone's form is. There's just something weird in Matisse's legs when he shoots. I don't know if he's just too wide with his legs when he shoots the ball, but something looks off. Like even now that the arms look better, like something looks wrong there. And 3 for 5 is great. I mean, I don't expect him to really shoot it at an effective percentage. If he could bump it up to like 33% from 30%, that would be great. But I mean, we've seen him shoot well for some stretches. He started his rookie year. He was like 45% from 3 at Christmas. But there's just something that looks bizarre there.
It's interesting about Matisse, and we'll just have to wait and see, because I don't think that he's in the current 9-man rotation. So, no, I certainly don't mind that in terms of just he has to earn his keep after the way last season ended, and especially with the guys that they've added. And I do think that the things that he's really good at, and he's a luxury right now. But especially if the Sixers still want to trade him, it doesn't help his value to just have him rotting. So they probably want to figure out a way to get him some minutes and massage his value in some way. So that'll be interesting to watch. Now, we're going to get into Sixers season predictions here. We can go around the horn. We should make a TV show about that. We're going to go around the horn here. We can do these one by one. First one is Breakout Sixers. Which Sixer will have a breakout season? Now, this can't be any of the top 3 guys. That would be Joel, Harden, and Maxey. And this doesn't have to mean that they have like an incredible all-star season. It can just mean in the hearts of Sixers fans that they, sort of gain favor and a big sort of Padilla's Flotilla fan base type of thing. Emily, this first goes to you. Which will be your breakout Sixer? And I do trust that our producer Drew is tallying these up and will come up with a winner at the end of the year based on who is correct. He's nodding. Emily?
Well, I was going to say Maxey, and you took that away from me.
I sure did.
So I think that's kind of rude of you.
He would be the odds-on favorite. He's off the board.
Well, not even in the hearts of Sixers fans. I think people are like.
Emily, I won't be arguing at this time. We're recording.
All going to take notice of him this year. Okay, the world. Then I am going to pick. I'm just going off the dome here. I'm not even going to look at anything.
And I will say it can be a great season. It doesn't have to be a cult hero, but it can be a great season, or it can be a cult hero.
A cult hero, like a Mike Scott, Eric's level
Correct.
Cult hero.
Yeah, it can be either or.
Okay, then I am going to say, a la Mike Scott level cult hero, I'm going to say Montrezl Harrell. I just think he's a little saucy. He's going to bring that level of sauce to the team. Philadelphia likes that. And I think his minutes are going to be fun. So I'll say him.
Great. In that vein, I'll say Dan House. I love that guy. I think he's pure chaos, and I think he'll have some awful games, but I think even those will be hilarious. I'm way in on him. I think what he did in the bubble was funny too, if a bit irresponsible, certainly. But I think he's great fodder for people online and in the stadium. There'll be a lot of. He does a bow and arrow thing when he makes a 3. He's great. AU.
I'll go a little off the board here. I'm kind of let old habits die hard and say Shake Milton. Like I'm kind of into.
That was my guy.
Sorry, man. I'm kind of into like running back Shake with like the really buffed up torso, and he's got like a little kind of plow through with his game now, and it seems to improve his around the basket scoop game a little bit. I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to hopefully see him. He's the only Sixer I can remember in recent years I actually want to shoot fewer threes, because the delivery is permanently funky. He's got that bowling ball shot. I don't know how it happened, but it happened. And now I just want to see him plowing through and getting to the line and getting buckets and having smaller guys bounce off him. I'm kind of excited for the Shake season. Now, I've said that before and gotten my heart broken rather severely and dramatically, so I don't want to put too much stock in that. But yeah, he's gonna be my guy for this particular category.
Contract year Shake, I think, too.
Is this something I was guesting on the Ricky recently, and like so it was like a call-in show, and someone said like, "Are you worried that Shake's gonna play too well and demand too high a contract next year?" I was like, "My man, that is like maybe in the like 260s on my list of worries for this team next year." But yeah. I appreciate looking out.
Yeah, we're worried about the max that we have to give Shake.
Somebody is, I guess.
Matisse is eligible for the max.
It's what Keith said. Dan, what's your answer on this
one? All right, my answer was Shake Milton, but I'll switch it up, and I'm kind of, so we talk about breakout, like we're not just saying like it can't just be a new guy who fans love. It has to be like they have to play markedly better, correct, than they have
before. That qualifies as well.
Or
they don't have to play markedly better. They could.
I mean, I think
guy that we like.
Like I think fans are gonna love PJ Tucker. I think he's gonna get a lot of minutes. I think that he's of the guys left, he's the only one I really want to take. I mean, I could go Paul Reed, but I don't think. First of all, everyone already loves him, so there's no real improvement in how loved he is there to be had. And I guess not everyone, because Sixers Adam hates him, as we know. But the whole, like, I love Paul Reed. I like how he plays. I want him in the rotation, but like and I think he's good, but he's not gonna like, even him like getting better is not gonna like be in like super noticeable ways. Like he's not gonna add like a new move or something. It's just gonna be like he gets a little less like uncoordinated or something. Like that'll be like Paul Reed getting better. So I'm gonna go PJ Tucker. I just think, playing with Harden again, and not that I think he was very helpful for the Heat last year. I mean, clearly he was, and I don't, Jimmy looks great for them. I don't mean this as anything against Jimmy, but I think in particular playing with Embiid and Harden, where Harden drives and looks to kick to those corners where he's comfortable, and he's comfortable playing with Harden, and where Embiid is going to continually just kind of suck everyone in. I think Tucker becomes a really helpful player. Plus, we need, I think his defense will be really helpful. His rebounding will be helpful. I think that he's going to patch a lot of holes and get recognition for that, in addition to just being like a scrappy, tough player. So I think he's going to be really well liked here. I don't know, PJ Tucker.
Can I ask real quick? Are we like 20% worried about him being like a plant inside job type thing sent by Jimmy Butler? He's been very demonstrative. Like Jimmy Butler's been like very kind of cartoonishly demonstrative. Like, oh, I'm so mad about that PJ Tucker leaving me. Like, oh, he'll rue the day. Like it feels a little forced to me, and I wonder if there's something devious going on there.
I feel like he wasn't, and I guess like just feel like he wasn't on the Heat long enough. But as I say this, Al Horford was a Celtic for like 3 years before he came to the Sixers.
Yeah, and George Hill on the Bucks too. Don't twice bitten, 3 times shy or whatever. But
George Hill, I don't think George Hill was a plant. I think he was just bad.
Like, I
think he was just awful, and I don't think he's been that helpful on the Bucks either. He hasn't been as
fair point. Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, Horford was a plant for sure.
Horford, God,
I think. I guess I just feel like the Heat don't care about us enough. I don't know. We'll have to see. I hope I'm and the one thing that makes me hopeful is that like the Sixers signed Al Horford, and Joel was like just sad they got rid of Jimmy, sad they got rid of JJ, like wasn't asking for them to sign another center. Whereas like he was specifically wanting to play with PJ Tucker.
And I guess Tucker was Harden's guy before he was Butler, so hopefully that kind of counteracts there too. We'll see.
All right. Most frustrating Sixer. Who will be the most frustrating Sixer? Dan, you'll get the first pick in this
one. I'm going to say James Harden. And I don't mean that to say that Harden has a bad year. I drafted Harden in our Liberty Ballers draft. But I think just by nature, he is frustrating to a lot of people. And like you mentioned, taking more mid-rangers, not mad about it, but they're not going in. That could be frustrating. He's like kind of getting good looks, not making them. That might take some time throughout the season. He's been, prone to some pretty frustrating turnovers in his time with the Sixers. And I think that, there are a lot of people still who look at Harden as a guy who can be back to the athlete he was, which even if I think he looks better than last year a little bit, I don't think we'll ever be back to, the level of athlete he was in terms of his quickness and his leaping. And I think a lot of people aren't like fully at peace with that. And I think that because of that, Harden could end up being a very frustrating player for some people this year.
Emily.
I'm gonna pick Tobias Harris, just for all the reasons it's been Tobias Harris for the past 2 years. I still like the guy. I think, he's a nice guy. But he just never.
No, we're not allowed to call Tobias Harris a nice guy anymore. Even if he is, we don't need to say it. We don't need to say it.
I do every time. I need to defend him every time. But he doesn't do the things he needs to do well enough most of the time. So, and I think it's going to continue to frustrate people to no end. So.
Hey, you.
Yeah, do you see that Tobias scored 1 point in last night's game?
Good bit. It's a good bit.
Yeah, I said the real answers here are James, Tobias, and Doc Rivers, who I think is going to be in very pure like year 3, like everything is his fault. Like, and the shots don't go in, it's his fault. Like Joel's a bad night, Doc's fault for playing him too much. We're just going to be in pure blame Doc mode for 82 games this regular season. I'm going to go with Montrezl Harrell, who I think Sixers fans are going to love, and then Sixers fans are going to hate. I think it's going to be a very dramatic swing from one to the other, possibly towards the end of the season, definitely in the playoffs. And it's going to be the sort of thing where the bad is going to outweigh the good, and we're going to be left from them. I think we're going to enjoy the Montrezl Harrell experience for a while, and then we're going to forget we ever liked him, and even like a little bit. I think it's going to be that bad. So, we'll see about that. I certainly have enjoyed him so far. I've certainly enjoyed him from afar for a number of years before this one. But I just think that's going to go south. And when it goes south, it is not coming back.
Left without any of the, good choices, I'll say George Niang. He only shoots. He doesn't do anything else. And if you're only, as we saw with Covington, if you're only standing and shooting.
He can also guard Ben Simmons. He can do that.
He can guard Ben Simmons. And Giannis. But if you're only doing that and you go cold, it can really make you the target of some ire from fans. And it's like, George, he's doing a fucking weekly podcast. George, cut it out.
That's never a good thing.
Shut the fuck up on the podcast and make a few shots. I could see some fans getting angry. I know that fans hate us when we're not making shots and we keep podcasting. It's a problem. So
fans hate us all the time.
Fans hate us constantly. That's right.
Should we do a jump shot reveal?
We should do a jump shot reveal. We can play that psycho in basketball, and he can. There you go. I think it's a great idea. We can. Emily, are you down? You film yourself taking jump shots?
Sure. Why not?
Jordy can come in, hand you another microphone, and then film you taking jump shots. I think it's great. All right. Give me a storyline that's going to emerge. Now, this can be anything. This is sort of anything that can come up. Is somebody going to punch somebody at practice? Is somebody going to sleep with somebody on the team? Anything that you can think of. Dan, you're raising your hand. Go ahead.
I'm not.
Go ahead and give me anything, any kind of hidden storyline that might emerge this year before we get to our final prediction and mercifully release AU to enjoy his night.
All right. Let's see. All right. I think we heard some whispers about it this summer from Dad Agent. And I think Tobias Harris gets unhappy with his offensive role on the team. That'll be my storyline. I think maybe we don't hear it right away directly. Maybe we don't hear it mid-season. But I think, we see maybe some missed shots, some weird timing going on with his offensive flow. And then, we hear later on that he was just really frustrated that he just didn't get the ball more, didn't get more offensive opportunities, didn't get more ISOs and opportunities to run into, the elbow where Joel already is and attempt a contested by two players pull-up jumper. And I think that you maybe hear that. I think that it maybe plays out during the season and you end up hearing it if the postseason doesn't go well again, as it never has, then you maybe hear it, with Tobias coming up with just like onto an expiring next summer where he becomes a lot more tradable. You kind of start to hear this kind of unhappy, wants to be somewhere else, and the Sixers could maybe actually get something for him, and him in a bad contract and maybe something actually of value. And I think that is maybe a storyline I can see happening. Would be bad, would not be a happy one, but I think we're talking bad storylines here, right? So that's what I could see being realistic.
I think that Ryan Colangelo will emerge and do the Joe Rogan podcast. And he's going to just be doing DMT and just going nuts and naming names. And it'll be a gigantic story. And he'll be lots of lies, but he'll be really outing people who still remain with the Sixers. And it'll be like a giant crisis within the team. So that's what I got. AU.
I'll give two. I guess the one that I think is maybe more likely is that we get some sort of like, is James Harden a bad influence on Tyrese Maxey type narrative? Like maybe one night where like there's lots of like Instagram videos of the two of them out together, and maybe Tyrese has a bad game the next day, and like, oh, is he learning the wrong habits from Harden? All that nonsense. We do the circuit there for a week or two. The one that I'm more interested in, which I don't think is going to happen, because I think the Sixers are going to get off to a pretty good start and kind of play steady all season. But if they start off like 9-8, 7-7, like that sort of thing, I think we could get like a month into the season and Doc Rivers is just fired. I think we're going to have a really quick trigger there. Maury's done it before, where Kevin McHale was like coming off like a much better playoff performance than Doc Rivers just had. And then like he saw like a couple weeks into the season just wasn't happening and was gone. I could see that I could see him kind of assuming scapegoating duties for the team if they start slow. I don't think it's going to happen, but if it does happen, I could see that being how the fallout kind of materializes.
And Emily.
I'm gonna say there's going to be like a real Tyrese Maxey all-star game push at midseason. You know how there's always like there was Tobias, was it last year, 2 years ago? He had a really good season going into the all-star break. I think we're going to see that with
or
Tyrese
2 years.
this
Yeah,
year.
whichever. Yeah.
And Ben made the all-star team that year, despite playing horrendously.
And then my other one that is more scandalous is I think that at some point the Sixers are going to be brought up in the Ime Udoka narrative somehow, some way.
Wow, huge.
Like he
Don't know. We don't know, but I'm just waiting for it.
Whoa. I love it.
You think he just started this kind of activity in Boston or what?
Oh, you're right. I totally forgot. Oh my God. Do you think he got involved with Red Panda? No.
Maybe.
There's no way. Okay, let me not. Let's not post any pictures, everyone. All right. Finally, give me the Sixers seed this year and how the Sixers season will end. Emily, you're up.
They're going to be the 2 seed and finally make it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
And that's where it ends.
Yeah.
Okay. AU.
1 seed, lose in the second round.
I like the first part. I hate the second part. Dan.
53 wins, even though no one asked.
Not part of the question, but okay.
2 seed. NBA Finals. 50-50 on if they win.
Dan, the optimist here tonight.
Wow.
Nah, you gotta
I'm always
pick.
the opposite.
You gotta
Everyone-
pick.
You were never the optimist.
Fine, fuck it, they win. And you know what? I am the optimist, and I always am too high on the Sixers. And the only year I wasn't, it was because I hated Ben. And guess who was fucking right? So I don't want to hear about how I'm a pessimist. Because the first full year we did this pod is because I knew Ben was dog shit, and I knew he was going to drag him down, and I was right. And everyone thinks I'm a pessimist ever since. Even though every other season I'm like, oh, Sixers are going to win 60 games, 60 games in the finals, and they never do. I'm always too high on this team.
That's tremendous. I have 2 seed, win the East, lose in the finals. That's what I've got. AU, we are now going to bug you before you go, if you have time, with one music question each. We do this every time you're on the podcast. If you'll humor us, if that's all right.
Love it. Let's do it.
Great. Dan, go ahead.
All right. Midnights is coming out.
Damn it, Dan.
Sorry, Emily.
That's all I
You
want
can
Sorry,
ask a
who's
different
that
Midnights
album by?
question.
Midnight's. I'm not familiar with any album coming out by that title.
So Taylor Swift's new album is coming out about a week from today. And I want to know your prediction for how many from Billboard here, how many top 10 songs do we get from the album?
She doesn't usually like Drake, when he releases a new album, when he released Certified Lover Boy, he literally took up 9 of the top 10 spots, which I've never been done before. And
What?
I don't yeah,
I didn't even
it
listen
was
to it.
absolutely insane. It's not good. Don't listen to it, please. But this album will probably be better than that. She's never quite bombed the Hot 100 in the same way, but she does usually debut with at least one number one, or at least can't have more than one number one on the debut. But she's had a number one debut the last 2 albums. She's had at least one other top 10, I think, both times. So definitely off of Folklore. I'll say she's trending up. I'll say 4 top 10 hits, I think, would be the over under. And like even if you said the over on that, I wouldn't be shocked. But I think 4 is a good baseline there.
Cool.
Emily?
Since Dan talked about Taylor already, can you give me any like up and coming country artists that I should be like paying attention to or watching?
Okay. Well, I don't know how like Zach Bryan is like one of the biggest names in country this year. I don't know if he's still considered up and coming. He's awesome. He's a little bit kind of on the borderline of rock and country. But he has one of the bigger breakout songs of the year called Something in the Orange, and he has like a 30-track album called American Heartbreak. 30 tracks is too many. Don't make 30-track albums, please, unless you're gonna make them like totally crazy and every song was wildly different than the last one, which is not the case with this album. But he's a super good songwriter. Some of the songs really kind of rip. I think he's really, really promising. He's going to be one of the next big things. Beyond him, I don't know. There've been artists I've heard like one song by that I think is kind of cool. God, I don't look up her name. I think her name is either Cassie or Casey Ashton. She has a song called Dates and Pickup Trucks, which is probably one of the. It's like an R&B / country song. It's one of the coolest songs I've heard this year. I don't know how to pronounce it, but the first name is spelled Kassi Ashton, and that song is a jam. I think you'll like it, so I would definitely check that out.
Cool.
Okay. AU, I am betrothed. I am getting married.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you very much. I got your flowers. Part of our process here is to we're getting a band and we're gonna have to give them songs. Do you have favorite first dance songs or just wedding songs throughout the night that you like to hear when you're at a wedding?
I used to have a good answer to the second part of this question. I mean, the answer to the first part of this question is always just do something distinctive to the two of you. Don't take anybody else's advice on like what a good first dance song should be. Like the best first dance song I ever heard was my high school friend Lewis and his fiance, soon-to-be wife, picked Simon and Garfunkel's "At the Zoo," which I am very confident has never been chosen by any other couple in the history of first dances because it makes no sense as a first dance, either musically or thematically. But it was great because it was the two of them and they had a great time dancing to it and everyone was super happy. So I definitely encourage you to just go as personal and as specific as you possibly can with that and fuck what everybody else says. In terms of songs I like to hear out, I think you can be pretty traditional at weddings. I mean, I'm definitely like oh cool, I wouldn't have expected this song kind of guy in general, but at weddings, I think you don't really want to rock the boat too much. Unless it's with the song Rock the Boat by the Hughes Corporation, which is a classic disco anthem. And certainly we welcome at any wedding that I was attending. I'll Dua Lipa, Bruno Mars, that sort of stuff's always a good call. In terms of 80s stuff, certain synth pops. I try to think Jesse's Girl by Rick Springfield is a really underrated one. In Excesses Need You Tonight, I don't think gets as much wedding play as it should. Maybe it's a little sexual, but that's a great song. And Motown certainly can't go wrong with that. And get a good variety of decades, so every generation gets something that they can dance to. I think is also key. But yeah, again, I think have a couple songs that are specific to you and your betrothed, but generally to keep it to the crowd pleasers. Everyone will be happy. No one really goes like expecting deep cuts at a wedding, and I think that's probably for the best. Perfect.
AU, can't thank you enough for joining us once again. I'm sure we'll be bothering you to come on again. It's always so much fun when you join us. You're on Twitter at AU Get Off My Gold. Obviously can read you at Billboard and RTRS. Is there anything else that you'd like to plug at the moment?
No, not particularly. Again, thank you guys so much for having me on. It's an honor to be kind of one of the go-tos here, and it's an honor to kick off the season with y'all. And it's always a really good time. And I love that I get these music questions at the end of it, which I'm curious if anyone actually listens to. But I appreciate giving the chance to kind of cross worlds like that a little bit. So thank you for that. And yeah, anytime.
Great seeing you, and we'll check in with you very soon, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Go Phils.
Go Phils. All right. So we are going to take an ad break, and then everybody is very excited, waiting with bated breath, but we are going to get on to the official Gastro Blues Handsome Rankings right after this ad break. So here's the ad right here. All right. Now, what do you think? Do we have time for this other thing or no? Do we go right into the handsomes?
We can talk about it for just mention that it happened.
All right. Something that happened in between us changing our days here was that Draymond Green punched the ever-loving shit out of Jordan Poole. I've never, in real life, I've seen this, but an athlete punching the lights out of another athlete at practice is just unbelievable. He's not going to be suspended at all. He's going to play.
Chief shot at him too.
I mean, Jordan Poole did not want any part of this. He's not I'm sure that they were talking a little bit back and forth, and they were, but he just sort of shoved him to get him out of his personal space. And then Draymond just cleaned his clock. It was just insane. So there's just, I don't know how much there is to say about this, but how much do you think this is going to affect their season? Either of you. We won't spend a lot of time on this because we're gonna. You think?
Yeah, I don't know. They've won 4 times. I feel like they'll be fine.
It's not
because the other thing,
Clay and Steph fighting.
The other thing they have hanging over them is this big Draymond contract, because he wants a giant contract, and I don't think the Warriors want to give it to him. But I mean, as a one,
I don't think anyone wants to give that to him, though.
I feel like some team that thinks they can win a title would that needs. I don't know. That's a good point.
I don't know. It all comes down to, honestly, I think it comes down because they're so far above the apron at this point. They're so far into the tax. I think it all comes because the Warriors have been paying record tax bills for years.
Yeah,
I think it comes down to how much the owners want to spend to keep it together.
Yeah, how
much they think Draymond's going to be worth that kind of money just for their own investment. Because for cap reasons, it barely matters, right? It doesn't even. I mean, you have when they first started winning and they were able to get KD when the cap was going up and Steph was on a $10 million contract. Like that's not the case anymore, right? Like Wiggins is still making a ton of money, and you know, and Steph is on what? Like he's making like, getting close to $50 million at this point. Like this is not the, figure out a cat move Warriors. This is like you keep Draymond or you don't, but at this point it's a financial decision for the owners. So yeah.
I mean, the next thing I saw was like House of Highlights being like Jordan Poole scored 15 points. I was like, Jordan Poole's dead. What are you talking about, Jordan Poole? He's on the fucking ground. He was fine. He looked totally fine. I was like, I don't know how it's happening, but that was wild. I would like that to not happen for the Sixers, please. Okay, so huge moment every year we do this. What happens is, Emma, you can actually, why don't I go to you, but can I make a request of Drew? Drew, when we get to our top 10 here, can you put the gentleman's name? I think it's a little mean to do it for the bottom of the list, but can you put the gentleman's names for the top 10 on the screen? Is that something we can do? Thumbs up from Drew. All systems go.
You say, is that something we can do? That's probably like the most basic thing, but Drew probably can do so much more than that.
Very hard work.
That would probably take him like 3 seconds.
Writing names, gotta make sure they're spelled correctly.
Just making sure. All right. So Emily, take the folks through how we do this and how it's gonna unfurl here.
Yeah, so it's really a highly scientific process where Dan and Steve send me secret ballots of ranking their most handsome Sixers, and then I also rank my most handsome Sixers, and then I put it in a fancy spreadsheet algorithm, and we figure out our aggregate most handsome Sixers.
This is it's like box plus minus, but for handsomeness.
Mm-hmm.
It's really it's an advanced stat here. I think Jokic could win MVP based on this metric.
Zach Lowe would be like, I don't need your vorps and schnorps to figure out your, whatever.
Who's handsome? We should come up with an acronym for this. Like,
it's a great point.
Oh,
like Mike O'Connor was talking.
What was Mike O'Connor's?
Yeah.
Horsecock.
Horsecock, yes.
Yeah, we need one.
We do need one. Oh, okay. We have to figure that out.
That'll be next year. We'll have one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we need to acknowledge, as we mentioned at the top of the podcast, we originally ranked 2 Sixers that, since we ranked them, were had to be removed from the list. And Shane,
they
Charles
were both
Bassey,
cut before I got mine in because
Dan got his in at like 1:30 today, so I just removed them from your list, Steven.
Oh, Emily, Emily, had you ranked them?
No, I did mine at like 8:30 tonight.
Oh, great. Okay, so I was the only one that ranked them. Now, where did I rank them? Let me go to my rankings.
From the desk of Steve Littman.
I would have had
sent me.
Emily,
Dan just sends it to me in a text. He's like, whatever.
Emily, I send it to you so officially.
Steve?
I know it's a secret ballot.
You sent it in an email?
I sent it in an email. It says ballot sealed. It says ballot sealed. Steve Littman official 2022-2023.
Do you not feel comfortable texting Emily?
No, it has to be official.
I text Emily constantly. Anytime at a Sixers game. Emily, what section are the milkshakes at?
Where are the milkshakes? That's what Dan always texts me.
And then it says from the desk of Steve Littman, and then it's the rankings in descending order. So just so everyone knows, Charles Bassey was 16th, and he probably requested his release because he knew this was coming. And Isaiah Joe, I had 8th. So
8th? What's wrong with you?
That's high.
Handsome man.
That's what I'm saying.
That's low.
There's a lot of handsome Sixers this year.
Yeah, come on. Come on.
All right.
Let's hear it.
No further ado. So we have 16 Sixers here because we count the two ways.
Yes.
Julian Champagny and Charlie Brown Jr.
Mm-hmm. Charles.
Okay, so
Charlie.
Coming in at 16.
Get off my fucking back about it.
Ooh. Dang.
I know we're competing. I guess we're not competing.
It's Steve's bedtime. Steve's usually asleep by like 7:30.
It's my bedtime.
Oh, we really are back in the season here.
All right. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Done?
Let's do it.
All right. Number 16. Newcomer into the Sixers in the list is a tough entry spot. Montrezl Harrell.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So then at 15, maybe a shock, maybe not. We've got James Harden.
So far, I had both of those guys ranked higher than this.
I had them both ranked slightly higher, not much higher.
Oh, so Emily really had these guys low.
I mean, I had Harold 15, so.
Yeah, I had Arrow 15 too.
But my 16 hasn't been said yet.
Oh, yeah.
My dead last and my second to dead last have not been said.
Wait, what is this?
She doesn't. She.
Do I have to verify the voting?
No. We trust that.
Is this a Moonlight La La Land situation?
No, but I fixed it. Hold on. Coming in at 14, we have Julian Champagny.
Okay, he was my dead last.
It was not mine. I had him at 11.
Not a handsome.
No, I had him at 12.
So then we have a tie for 13th and 12th between Jaden Springer and Daniel House Jr.
I had House Jr. last.
Oh, what?
Yeah, that was a rough call by Dan.
What did you have him?
14.
What do you mean? You had him 2 spots higher than me.
Wait, maybe. Yeah, 14. I'm the first column, Steve's second column, Dan's the third column. Okay. All right, number. Oh wait, hold on.
11.
Number 11. Yep.
If you're scoring at home, we are up to number 11, and then we're getting these guys up on the board here.
Okay, number 11. George Niang.
Okay.
That's low.
All right, now we are getting into our top 10. Drew, get on it, pal.
All right. Number 10.
All right, 1 sec.
Oh.
All right, I'm good.
I
I'm
told
good.
you this was not
Here
easy.
we're ready. You just had to give me 1 sec.
Oh, look at him go.
Here we go. All right, coming in at number 10. Friend of the podcast and Capri Sun lover, Paul Reed.
Okay. Handsome guy. No qualms.
Okay. Coming in at number 9 with his debut on the list, PJ Tucker.
Okay, so far these are pretty
okay with
good.
that.
I don't have any issues here.
Coming in at number 8. This one was probably our widest range of
All right.
choices. Number 8, Charlie Brown Jr.
I had him 4.
See?
All right. So I think we should probably pause here and talk about this. So Dan, you had him 4.
Yeah.
I really, really think he's handsome. Now, so Charlie Brown, I think he's really good looking. Now, Emily, you must have had him. Well, you must have had him fairly low. I had him exactly 6th. I had him 6th.
I had him 13.
Ooh. Now, what's your
Why?
issue with him?
I don't really have an issue with him. I just think other people are more handsome.
Okay, but what doesn't do it for you with him? Because
I think he's a little skinny.
Ooh, we like some meat on the bone. Okay, all right. Well, that's up to you. All right, keep it going. What do we got at 7th?
Okay. Next, number 7, Furkan Korkmaz.
Oh,
Okay, I had him with 9.
I had him 3.
Oh,
I had him
3.
9.
You had him 9. Okay. 3 is so high.
He's a handsome guy. You know what? And you know what? You guys should feel like this is a win. I had him ranked above George Niang this year. So
I also had him ranked above George. Oh, but wait. Oh boy, we're coming up on a real surprise here because I also had him ranked above George Niang. But Emily must have had Niang way up there.
whoa, me and Emily flip-flopped on the Furkan Niang debate, huh?
We already said Niang now.
When? Oh yeah, we did. You're right.
He's below
Come on,
number
Steve, get with
10.
it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
He was 11.
All right. Yeah, he's 11. So number 6, Matisse Thybulle.
Okay.
That's where I had him.
I feel like it's a solid entry point for him.
Listen, we got to pause here because fans will know he won last year.
I didn't have him at number 1.
I know you're proud of that. I will just say, when we do these rankings, we don't do these rankings with our, Pfizer shots. Okay, Dan, we do these with our libidos. Okay, we do these.
I got Moderna.
With I don't care. We do these with our, with what we've got inside us, with what drives us. All right, it's about attraction here, Dan. Okay. But I will say it was hard to separate Matisse's behavior at the end of last year from his handsome ranking, because he's still a gorgeous man. And I docked him a place or two when I ranked him 5th. Emily, where'd you rank Matisse?
I ranked him 6th.
Me too.
Okay, 6th he is.
I think some people have taken a significant handsome jump this offseason. And then there's been some new entries into the category. So
it's true. All right, who do we got at 5?
Number 5 with our highest debut, D'Anthony Melton.
Had him 4.
Me too. I had him 4 too. I think 8 is too low for him.
Oh, definitely.
He's really handsome.
He's very good looking. Yeah.
I
showed him to Jordy today when I was doing this, and he was like, "Oh, he is good looking."
Yeah. No, you don't think it, but he is.
Yeah.
Give him another look if you're listening at home. Close the shades.
Number 4. This is shocking to me. I don't know what you guys were doing. Number 4, Tobias Harris.
I had him 7.
I had him 7.
Yeah, that's wild.
No, that's proper.
No.
Yes.
He's so good looking.
You have been so high on Tobias.
He's so handsome.
We can't keep rehashing this debate. We're just gonna have to agree to disagree on Tobias.
Emily.
7th is handsome. I didn't say he's ugly.
Listen.
I had him 7th. That's top half of the team.
I had a number 2.
I know you do this every year. We have the same.
He's so handsome.
All right, we're in the top. All right, so just to get it out there here, our top 3 in some order is Tyrese Maxey, Shake Milton, Joel Embiid.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
Listen, hang on. Give me a second. Tobias is handsome. He's very handsome. But is he gonna rock you? I don't know. He's state.
He might take me to a nice dinner and watch Netflix with me.
What is happening? This is about handsomeness. None of these players are like, what is going on?
Dan is like on another planet.
Like, Steve, what is your criteria?
Well, I'm trying to.
All right.
All right. Let's go to the top 3. I will say, I don't know the order yet, but I got the top 3 right.
Oh.
Dan,
you did. You're the only one.
I had 1, 2, and these guys are 1, 2, and 5 for me.
1, 3, and 5 for me.
Dan, who are you missing from your top 3?
Shake. I had him 5.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm saying who from your top 3 is not there?
Furkan was 3.
Oh, Furkan, right. Okay. Mm-hmm. And Emily doesn't have Tobias. Okay.
Yes.
Who's 3?
Number 3 is Shake Milton.
Okay. I had him 2. I think he's really good looking.
You know you love
him. I know. I had him really high last year too. I think he's so good looking. Yeah.
Pretty ghost.
Just like
he's a pretty ghost.
I think Tobias, like just a poll, who is more handsome, Shake Milton or Tobias Harris? I think
we can run that poll.
We'll run the poll. Shake's gonna win.
I don't think so.
We can run that poll.
Guarantee it.
We'll run that poll.
We'll do it. We'll see.
Run that poll right now.
I'll run that poll right now. Wait, Dan, can you do it from the Gastro feed? I'll retweet it.
All right. Retweet it from Liberty Ballers.
Wait, can I do that?
Do we know how to do that?
Is Liberty Ballers going to get mad at us? If we
well, they never get mad. We used to.
I can do it. I focus on the on whatever.
All right.
Focus on the top 2.
Drew's on it.
Top 2.
All right. Number 2. Reigning MVP in our hearts, Joel Embiid.
All right. So number 1 is Tyrese.
We all had him number 1.
Okay. Listen, he bulked up this offseason. I think he's far and away.
Million-watt smile.
I love that Drew is like our Ernie Johnson at this point. Like we're just like, oh yeah, like we're arguing between like number 4 and number 3 on the list and like talking about sending a Twitter poll off, and Drew's like, please just finish the episode.
Drew's like, back to the game.
All right. Well, that's
there
it,
you have
right?
it. That's the top 10.
That's the episode.
I will say, Dan, didn't you have Tyrese number 1 last year too?
I had Isaiah Joe number 1 last year.
Oh, you had Joe. Wow.
I had.
All right.
I
Well,
had.
listen.
Yeah, but we all had Tyrese 1 this year, Emily said, so well deserved.
Consensus number 1 pick. Congratulations, Tyrese Maxey. Come on the podcast, collect your award.
That's right. We've
That's
got
right.
the award. It is what we can do another release recovery shirt, right? That was it.
Tyrese.
This was a lot of fun. This is a good episode. The season is upon us. Go Sixers. Thank you again to AU. Thank you to Drew for all your help. This was great, and I'm excited for the year. Yeah, follow Third and Girl, Gastro Blues Pod, DA Pels 13, Steve J. Lippman. Go Sixers. We'll be back when? Oh, I guess after the Bucks game.
Home
a week from
opener.
tonight.
Yeah, after home opener.
Home
Oh,
opener.
we're on.
Are you guys going to that?
I am, so I probably won't be on after.
Yeah, we're on review duty that night, but
We're on review duty.
yeah, that's fine. I might be going.
What the fuck is going on here?
Steve will just tell you how he felt watching.
Well, you guys,
the
we can do it
Bucks.
after you guys get home. How far are you from the stadium?
Well, I'm closer than Emily because Emily's in the suburbs now. I mean, for me, it's like a 10, 12-minute subway ride. So
Yeah,
I
well,
get off
you're
at
gonna be
Lombard South.
shit hammered by the time you get home.
Me, I don't drink.
Okay, that's true.
Are you drinking wine right now?
Well, it depends if you're watching this on YouTube or listening on Spotify.
Speaking of that, the YouTube is the Gastro Blues podcast, a Sixers podcast, something like that. Give us a review there. We're going to be doing a lot of fun stuff this season. We're back in full force, folks. That's it. Be safe and be great. We love you. We'll talk to you next week.